Hello, Darshana.
Hi, Deriva.
It's so nice to see you after so long, and I'm so happy that I get to do this with you. To all the listeners, this is Darshana. She is a very, very old and dear friend of mine. I hold her so close to my heart. Today, I will be talking with her about the topic self worth and how self-worth sort of plays a part in your mental and emotional well-being. To add to Darshana's introduction, she's also studied masters. You've done, है ना?
Yes, I'm a psychologist right now.
Oh, you're a psychologist right now. Oh my God! See how after how long I'm talking to her that I don't even know that you've become a psychologist. I think last when I spoke to you, you were doing your masters, and now she's completing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I'm studying psychology too. So my perspective is also going to be weighed when it comes to having the aspect of psychology into my perspective. So just be mindful about all of this throughout listening to the conversation. So let's start, Darshana. I'm going to ask you your first question. And the question is that when it comes to self-worth, like how do you see, what kind of a role does it play into your life, and what does self-worth really mean for you in your perspective?
Okay, I think like how cement or your bricks is like the foundation for every building. For me, self-worth, I've realized, is one of the strongest foundation. Funnily enough, self-worth is not taught to you when you are, at the age of understanding what it means to, have yourself and understand yourself, accept yourself as you are and things like that. It is taught way later, and that too through social media, through somebody else elder talking about it. I think the understanding of even what self-love or self-worth or acceptance came to me way when I was 16, 17 or something like that. And that is way after everything of my childhood has already affected me and caused me to have rooted beliefs about myself. So what happens with self-worth in a general perspective, right? What happens or how it basically works is, one, it is about confidence. It is about your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and everything together that makes your self-worth of how I am worthy for something. And it's very small situations that I've realized, right? Sometimes it could be where I'm in a store and I need something, like I need help from somebody. But the minute I look at the situation, I'm like, oh my God, how are you so stupid? Like, why do you not know this anymore? And that's the very tiniest, moment where you realize that why is it so difficult for me to ask for help? Why do I feel like I am not good enough to ask for help? Or like, why do I have to feel like I have to be smart enough, or I am an idiot or a fool, or whatever the terms that you use, I think that's how self-worth has really impacted my life, where I've realized that over everything, every other foundation, if self-worth isn't strong, there is absolutely no point. It's always about self-worth and self-love. It starts from there.
Yeah, so much going on in my head because I think the subject is like that. No, it's so expansive. It's about confidence. It's about sense of worthiness. It's about esteem. And these are heavy duty words which are just thrown off on the social media just like that off lately. Every other podcaster is talking about it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talk about it in ways that I don't agree with. Like, yes, there has been times where I'm like, I don't think that's how self-worth works. Like, sometimes a lot of people take it in the wrong manner itself. A lot of people think that self-love is about just your external work. Mostly is external work, like going out for massages. It's great. Obviously, a self-care day is great. But that's how a lot of people market it as well. Like you market a lot of your products in the name of self-love. But the point of self-love is so much internal work, and it works with not just your physical aspects. It works with so much emotional intense of understanding the trauma bonds that you are in, the loops that you are in, the emotional wounds that your ancestors have probably given to you. And it's all passed on, right? So there are certain things that you cannot figure is your issue. You need to know what your parents probably went through to figure out ki, okay, this is why I may feel all this. So there's so much internally that needs to be done that a month or 2 months of just affirmations in front of the mirror or just like lighting the candle and a nice like a bath is not going to help you. But it's marketed in the, in that way that I feel like a lot of people get it wrong.
Honestly, मेरे को तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि मैं खुद अभी भी in this moment also I'm feeling traumatized to also like say something on this podcast. Because trust me, मेरा self worth तो oh my god, मैंने उस पे कितना काम किया है, अभी भी लग रहा है भाई कितना काम करना है, और इसलिए लग रहा है कि यार I'm doubting myself to even like say something about this subject, because I'm like यार मैं क्या ही बोलूं, and that itself is a self-worth issue. that अरे perfection थोड़ी चाहिए, जो experience किया है you say it out loud, like whatever it may be for you. Even if you've done like 5% of work on your sense of self-worth, I think it's valid. And the way that I see it in my perspective is your self is not your identity like Dinima. I think the self is the soul, and the worth is the value of the soul, and the value of your soul is priceless. And how people see it is that we have a body, we have an identity, उसके अंदर soul घुसा हुआ है. That soul इतना बड़ा है, उसके अंदर body है छोटा सा. तो for me literally it's like कि अगर soul के अंदर तुम्हारा body है, तुम्हारी self के अंदर तुम्हारी identity है, अगर वो self priceless है, तुम्हारी body पे तुम tag कैसे मार सकते हो, right? और वो value is priceless. That value that you give to your identity or yourself is your worth. So, oh my god, I said something very intelligent and very, very smart, I must say. I feel worthy.
I love it.
I feel worthy. I feel valuable in this moment when I say it, because no matter if it's right or wrong, again,
it's my opinion and I get to say it.
And as I said, if it's invaluable, it's beyond judgment also. There's no right and wrong about it. It's just a perspective in this moment. Maybe today what you watched by some social media person throwing some content on their page, they said something, right? And maybe in that moment you agree with it. Maybe 10 days later you'll be like, "Arey kya bakwas kar raha hai?" Because it happens, very, very natural, right?
Yes, this is why I'm really against a lot of factors when people come and tell me that, oh, do you know that this person did this when they were in school? I'm like, yes, okay, I understand that it could have hurt you at that point of time, but do you know the person right now? I don't want to know the person right now because I know what he did to me or she did to me back in school. People make choices that aren't great, but they're allowed to change. I don't think everybody understands that. Again, change is also a huge aspect of self-worth. I know for a fact, I will voice it out clearly, that I have done some shit in school that I am not proud of. That Darshana today would walk the other way and smack the living shit out of myself, right? Like I wouldn't do it today. But I've done it because I knew less. I knew very, very less. I was exposed to less. But today, the information I have came from those bad choices that I made. So if I am to connect my tag of self-worth with my past self, I am never going to find peace with myself, because I'm constantly like, I was a bad person. I am a bad person because of that, because of my past. How long am I going to hold on to that? There has got to be a lot of release. And what you told is so important. Like even yesterday, again, something that just came up into my head. Yesterday, I was speaking about it, where this is specifically for women in general. I think I grew up having to listen to I've always been very hyperactive and things like that. So I've always grown up listening to the fact that I need to be very elegant, very graceful. That's what femininity is about. where and then they'll give you the examples of your Miss Worlds and Miss Universe and your actresses who are very like composed and this thing. And then you'll see, and I started questioning myself, and then I see the videos of them where they are also going wild and crazy, and everybody's like, oh my God, this is so cute. And I'm like, no, you're only saying it like that solely because you are like, oh, that's just a small part of her. If the person was more wilder or more like hyperactive, you would have said, oh my God, where is the elegance? Where is the grace? You're a woman. So I feel like that also really questions your self-worth. I had this moment of realization yesterday, and I sat down with it for an hour after I made the video and I posted. I was like, it goes deeper than me saying it, right? Where I'm just like, this entire time I've kept myself from being hyper, even on stages as I perform, because I'm like, okay, no, I need to be that elegant, that graceful person so that people talk about, how graceful or elegant I am on stage. I need to smile in a certain way. I can't be that childish or crazy version. I have to, downplay it. Because if I don't, then my self-worth will be connected to that. My self-worth is connected to what people have to say about my behavior. And it needs to be, the word elegance and grace needs to come with me. And then you realize that as a woman, it's two parts. There is elegance and grace when it's there, but there is also needs to exist that loudness. And all of this is connected to, again, in a general term, to every woman's self-worth. I feel like every woman has always been silenced and celebrated for their silence and elegance and grace. They're always celebrated for that.
Wow.
That we think
amazing.
that being wild is wrong. I feel like that's the foundational base of it for women in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. I got a clap for you. Wait. Because I resonate with that so much. And not only like women, I feel like, women, yes, I think that's something that you see widely, across this entire spectrum of humanity when it comes to the gender of women in specific. I genuinely and honestly feel like, as you did mention, that there's so much to do with ancestors, right? The people that came before you made your conditioning of this moment, not only biologically, but also psychologically. And it sort of shapes the entire identity that you carry in the near future and every single present moment. If you are not aware that you are carrying so much in your identity, it will be very, very difficult to try to become who you dream of being, because that person might be completely, totally opposite of what your ancestors have put in your DNA. What you're carrying in your DNA. So DNA in itself, I feel like biologically plays a huge, huge role in the way that your physical body appears to be. But rest is psychological. So does your DNA also hold the memories of the people who were before you that shapes your psychology? Is a great question to ask and research upon. And once you do, I think you will find so much.
A lot of answers.
Because it's cellular. It's cellular. Your sense of self-worth is cellular. As I said, inside this whole spectrum of the soul, there is that body. Now, for a woman, if she's a more subtler being who is more connected to her soul than maybe a man would in terms of gender, or if I talk about people who are queer, they are even more connected to that sphere, even more than women. It's like literally software upgrade. Men, women, queer people. Literally, you see how much they're connected to the subtler spheres of the being of their soul.
I also feel like that's because when we are a woman or a man, we have that, it's at this level where we struggle, right? When it comes to queer people, they struggle even more with a lot because they're so on their own for a lot of reasons. So they have to just dive in so deep by themselves that they're like, I have nobody to do this for me. I mean, now, yes, there is a community, but way back when that community was not as strong or not a lot of people spoke about it, right? They were so alone in their fight and they're like, okay, I need to figure this out on my own. So they have to go even deeper than we possibly went. So I also feel that is a possibility of why, like you said, they might be in more,
Upgraded.
yeah.
Yeah, even more upgraded. Yeah. And like, to be honest, then at the end of the day, I feel like that if this entire body, which is just physiology and just psychology at a cellular base level, and ultimately it is that large spectrum of consciousness or soul, then imagine at cellular level, at every single moment, you're not only interacting with your hemisphere or your sphere of spectrum, but more people also become a part of it. So imagine how large the web that it would be. Now, what would you choose in terms of perspective? Do you want your self-worth only be limited to that cellular level of physiology and psychology? Or you would want to be connected to that sphere or spectrum that is infinite, and say, even if it's finite for you, so many people are added to it. So your pricelessness would even get multiplied into infinity with everybody else's spectrum that you are interacting with. So do you want your self-worth to be a soul level sense of self-worth, or would you want it to be a body. Identity, dinima, darshana, la-di-da-di-da level? So that's something that I play on my mind quite a bit whenever I feel defeated in my sense of self. What do you feel about feeling defeated in life? How does it impact your sense of self-worth mentally, emotionally? Where does it stem from? Does it stem from your physical appearance or more stuff?
So when it comes to feeling defeated, I feel like everybody goes through it at least once in every day, where there is a second of time where you're like, oh, I cannot do this anymore. And you can be, and this is again another thing that I've realized, right? You can be the richest man alive, you can be the richest woman alive, but there's always going to be something that's going to trouble you, from your relationship, from your marriage, from your partner. It could be a sense of self. Like when you look in the mirror, you're like, ugh. Because no amount of money, no amount of external materialistic thing cannot make you feel better if internally you are not dealing with the issue. So when it comes to feeling defeated, yeah, if you're asking in terms of me, I'm still obviously growing as a person, where I'm like, okay, this needs to be done with my career, this needs to be done with my this thing. What I forget very often is the fact that I'm still in the journey. I'm always so connected to being like, the result has to come out now. Why is it not coming? That I forget that I still need to freaking live the journey. That if I have everything already, then there is no point to anything. What am I going to do? What am I going to do once I have it all? Like, okay, yeah, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I don't mind crying with $1 billion in my hand. No, I don't mind it either. But even then, like, okay, I have $1 billion. I'm going to like travel all around the world. I'm going to buy whatever I want. Then what? I'm still going to have to experience the journey. That nothing can stop that. But it's so difficult. Again, it's so difficult because it's put into us. It's literally like screwdriver, like screwdriver bloody drilled onto our mind. Yeah, I was not getting the word. It's drilled onto us that we have to like, how is it? I'm losing my words now.
It's okay.
Because there's so much in my head that I want to like talk about, like you said, right?
I totally get you.
It's like a vast thing, but yeah, it's like drilled onto us that, we need to like, have everything at one point of time. And if not, then you are just not successful. Like you cannot be the definition of successful if you don't have everything that what others think is the definition.
Yeah.
So I have this, so I'm always feeling defeated because I'm like, I need to live according to that definition. But what is the definition for myself? I still haven't defined it because there's so much.
Yeah.
I'm every day making a new definition, even for myself, what it is to live my life, what it is to this thing. But that's where connections, emotional connections with a lot of people also matter. If you are in connection with people that are constantly going to question your doings, constantly going to doubt you and your actions, you are going to do it for yourself as well. But if you are in connection with people who also understand what going through the journey looks like, what taking your time, what not being age restricted looks like, then it's going to be a more smoother version of the journey. It's not going to be very rainbows and colors and ice creams or any of that sort, but it's going to be, I feel like, a little more smoother, the journey, when it
Yeah,
comes to
that's
feeling
why
that.
that's why the entire idea of like any sort of a community sort of like brings people together, increases the sense of belonging. And with the increase in sense of belonging and sense of that okay, I'm not as alone, it increases your sense of self-worth. um,
Mm.
it's basically, as I was saying, it is tuning into that spectrum which is not only yours, but it is of other people also. And automatically, if your sense of belonging increases and there's another person who is catering and servicing, not servicing, but like serving you in the act of probably making you feel not as lonely, making you feel that you belong, even the happiness quotient of your own self, their own self, it sort of all increases together. And when it also increases together, it rises together, automatically your sense of worthiness of your experience of
Exactly.
life in that moment becomes so invaluable. And two more things that were showing up for me, that I was telling one of my dear friends that no matter how much wealth you get convenience, you get everything on your plate. Um, as a woman or as a human being, you will not feel, if you don't feel valuable from within about your own sense of identity and your own sense of self, you will not be able to make anybody else also feel as valuable. Even though you think you are doing that, but the other person will not feel that within them
Them.
either. It just doesn't happen. It's almost like quantum entanglement in a way. The receptivity of that frequency sort of like reduces. If I don't feel valuable in my own sense of being, and I really want to date this particular person and have this particular person as my partner, then them being in my life, it won't be a great relationship because I don't feel valuable within me. That person might be feeling valuable within them, which is why I'm attracted to that person. My attraction towards them is only because they look like, oh my god, they value themselves so much, and that's something that I'm missing. So that is how the seesaw of sort of life and frequencies work. Another story that was coming to my head, that was told to me like 2 days back by this chai wale bhaiya. He said ki there's this like person that they know, and that guy I'm trying to recall, there's this man who starred in like a movie, okay, and he was like a really like rich guy, to an extent that from like WWE he went to like movies, and then from movies like he made like a lot of money, but then now he left everything suddenly. Like he was doing so crazily well in life. He was from a village in India. Now he's back, and he's just in Vrindavan. He's just serving God. He's a Krishna devotee now. And for me, I wasn't as surprised when Bhaiya told me, because I was like, And I have these conversations with Bhaiya so often, like such conversations with Bhaiya so often, because I feel like ultimately when it comes to money, the aspect of money, the aspect of, wealth in any case, materialistic way, ultimately it does not matter.
Unless and until you have that true connection with yourself and the people around you, I don't think it's going to help at all. Because I feel like it is also a form of escape. And I won't lie, I'm just as much as I think we've had this conversation before as well, where I was telling you, like, I'm worried about how the finances work and things like that, because in today's economy or in today's community that we live or the society that we live in, money plays a very, very important role.
Yeah.
Whether I like it or not, it is the truth of it, right? Whether I like it or not, it is the truth of it. And if I am to travel, or if I am to meet new people, or if I am to, everything needs money. Absolutely requires at least a bit amount of what it takes, right? So then that confusion comes out specifically. Like, even again, yesterday I was having that conversation with myself as well, where I'm like, okay, what is it that is about, like, how can I balance the both? Like, the requirement for that money to, like, experience certain aspects, but also not disconnect from myself, from the both, right? And that is when I also realized that the reason we also go behind the concept of money or certain aspects is because of what it makes us feel. When I have money, I don't feel restricted. I feel a lot of more freedom. There is a lot of, I'm able to do so much more. I'm very relaxed because I get to experience a lot of things without stress in today's world. So at the end of the day, when I ask for money, what I'm truly asking for is that flexibility, that freedom, that feeling of just relaxation where I'm not stressed, where I can have that sense of, okay, I'm okay, I'm calm, I'm peaceful. And that's what money gives me. So at the end of the day, what I'm actually asking for is that freedom, the flexibility, and all of that. It's not the money by itself. When I start believing that, money just becomes a basic piece of paper that I'm trading to get that freedom and flexibility. That's what happens.
Dude,
So then,
I have to share this. Oh my God, you are blowing my mind. Like, I'm telling you, literally in the morning today, I was doing like a reflection on money itself, okay? I even shared it on the community, this exercise that I was doing. Because anything that helps me, I just put it on the community because I feel like if it's helping me, it's definitely going to help
not help somebody.
Definitely. And I picked it up from this book called Artist's Way, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And I'm in love with that woman, what she wrote. Oh my God. And then what I did was, whatever my answers were of that worksheet, it's like a 20-point worksheet. So it basically asks you questions like, money is fill in the blank. Money causes fill in the blank. People with money are fill in the blank.
The way I'd mess up that one worksheet.
Money makes people whatever. Money equals whatever. You know what I wrote? Money is evil. Like,
even when you question, even when you just wrote, right? Money makes people, I'm like, greedy. For a second, I caught myself. I was like, Darshana, no. But yet,
exactly, because it's subconscious. You know, Freud or I think Jung, I think one of them came up with this. Have you seen that movie, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara? In that,
Free association.
Huh?
Free association. It's called free association.
So, like, they do like free association, and when it comes to free association, this worksheet is that. Okay. And it will bring out like the deepest stuff. So what I did was, after I completed the worksheet, I was like, of course, I want to intellectualize furthermore. And I want to understand what is really happening with all these answers together. So I gave GPT like a prompt, and I asked GPT to give me like, in like paragraphs, like what is happening over here. You know what GPT gave me? Like, I'll just read one line.
Go ahead. I'd
Okay,
love to
I'll
hear
tell
this.
you. It says, right now, your work is not to attract money. It is to uncouple money from self-worth and suffering.
I feel like mine and yours would be just the exact same.
And one gentle reframe to sit with today for you would be, money is not the thing that will allow me to rest. Rest is a thing that will allow for money to land.
तू मैं यहाँ पे करने वाली हूँ इधर
It says, you learn that suffering makes money legitimate, and ease makes it suspicious.
Wait, Birima, I have to talk about this. Today, I had a session with one of my clients, okay? And I'm talking to her about, oh my God. And I'm talking to her about how we humans have always believed that we need to suffer. Right? It is inbuilt in us. Like if we see two people who one has created his own business, kingdom, doing great in life. Another one comes from a poor family, had to break backs, and somehow has succeeded in life. We will always talk about the other guy who's broken his back for some reason, and we will downplay this guy. Be like, oh, his parents probably had money. How is it his fault that he was born into a family with money? Okay, yeah, good for him. Why are we questioning his self-worth, his capability, depending on how much he's suffered in life? No? So we're all so attracted to the concept of suffering. Ki if I don't work like I die, ki if I don't hard work it, it's never going to come for me, because again has been drilled onto us.
Now I'll open another layer for you, okay? Which is, so I attended this organization's, what do you call, like a program
retreat
called Landmark. So there they tell you that, it's like an act of a human being. Every human being is like an actor. By the way, Darshana is an artist, guys, also, and so much more than just a psychologist. Missed that in the introduction, but definitely worth the mention. She's amazing.
Thank you.
So when it comes to Landmark, they taught us in the workshop that every human being has an act. We are all actors. Okay. So what would my act be? You have to ask myself. I'll tell you, when it comes to us pretending or acting that we are victims, or we act helpless, or we act powerless, or we act like we're suffering all the time, one of the reasons that would be your act is to get attention and is to feel loved. So what happens is that when that helpless person sort of, no matter what the reason may be, gets that attention, gets that help, but for another person who's probably privileged, who then does not get attention, would, if not secure in their own sense of self or nervous system, would then at some point of time, when it gets too much for them, they will also start acting helpless. They will also start acting broken. Even if they have everything, they will also start acting like they're suffering.
Exactly. Oh my God.
That would get them attention. That would make them feel loved. That would make them feel like they belong, that they're wanted,
at the end of the day, belonging. It's just to feel belonging. Like I belong in this world.
I honestly, genuinely feel like it is the story of every artist to sort of have like an act going on in their life. Human beings also have some act just like that. In that moment, what act works for them, that sort of
they take
it up and the script plays out. It's literally a script that you are playing of your life in a certain way. What kind of meaning do you give to the things that you perceive? What stories were there in the past? What stories are of the present moment? What kind of story do you want to write for your future? In the present moment, you sort of like start scripting your ways and behaviors and beings that way, and it starts happening. And it's very, very subconscious, which is why consciously sometimes the act would be like, oh no, I'm trying to change things in my life, but they're not changing. And then you feel like, oh no, I don't feel worthy enough. It is because somewhere in the present moment, no matter how much you consciously do it, that consciousness is only the conscious mind of your part, which is only 5%, is just an act. The entire script of that act is actually loaded in your subconscious.
It's like you're calling me also out as you're calling your also out.
What was your question?
So I was wondering, it has got me self-worth का जब topic अभी start हुआ तब suddenly it popped up because I question it every time कि physical realm में now अभी internal का बहुत बात हो रहा है पर even I feel like हमारा physical जो भी है उसके बारे में जब भी कोई भी बात करे तो that also psychologically affects your self-worth. अभी मेरे लिए I'm usually very open to talking about it, so I don't mind. I'm usually very I grew up having to listen to the fact that कि तू सोती नहीं है, तू खाती नहीं है, you're not taking enough rest. क्यों? Because I have these under eyes, right? The hollow eyes I've got. But one, it is genetically come off to me. Genetically, I mean, my family kind of has it. So I've gotten it from there. And also my teeth. ये वाला. It's two
Yeah.
things that people just love having a conversation about. And I've grown up genuinely despising myself, but I've never stopped myself from smiling. I used to never stop myself from smiling, but recently I've realized that over time I actually smile lesser. Because, and it comes from my own mum, okay? It comes from my own mum where she's like, don't smile like that, your teeth is showing up. Or even in videos, what people don't look at first, I'm looking at. Whether it's my under eyes, whether it's my teeth, which then comes into my question कि अभी जो है ये dermatology ये सब जो है, okay, I can easily just go to a dermat, get some fillers in and fix it. That's all I need to do, right? And when the conversation about is it okay to change yourself, is it okay to do Botox, is it okay to do it? I've always been like, I mean, yeah, if that person wants to feel a little better and if it makes them feel better, kar do. But is that really going to internally change things? I've always questioned. कि अगर मैं गया एक dermatologist के पास and I go get my fillers in, I know for a fact that the next time I look in the mirror, it's not the first thing that I'm going to notice. Yeah. I am going to be, in a way, happy about how my face looks. So that is an addition to, of course, when we work internally, we are working on all our fears, we're working on all our prejudices, we're working on all our beliefs, our morals and things like that. So externally, if I do this, if I fix myself or if I do certain Botox and certain things, उसके लिए भी एक boundary है क्या? Or am I allowed to do it as long as I'm not hurting my physical self a lot?
तुम्हारी बॉडी है, तुम्हें क्या करना है उस बॉडी के साथ. Like for me, I think when I was 13 years old, one of my very, very dear, I look at her as again like an aspirational mother figure in my life. She's also a psychologist. She gave me this quote that I literally write on every journal I buy. Before I start journaling or before I start using any notebook that I buy like as I write this quote in it. And I'm actually gonna read that quote, and I honestly and genuinely feel like that if you really want to be devoted to one thing in your life, don't be devoted to your God, be devoted to your physical body. Now, after reading this, if you think that, after listening to this, if you think that this is how I should work with my body in terms of changing it, tattooing it, then do it, because then it's your free will. It's how you sort of, work with your body. And how ultimately at the end of the day, whatever makes you feel free, whatever makes you feel like you're living like a great life, that's all this is about, right? The experience is all about you having a good time, and then being genuine and authentic with yourself about the idea, are you actually having a good time? Like literally rock on मेरे दिमाग में आती है, like सोचा है, that song, are you having a good
The
time?
time.
Like, and then but you have to be very, very genuinely honest with yourself about it. So basically I think that quote I'm trying to find like a diary. I don't think it's over here, but the idea was the tragedy in life lies in having no goals at all. And it is not what you do once in your life, or once upon a time, or in a blue moon in your life. It's what you do on a daily basis, your consistent actions, that makes all the difference. So your body is a temple, and you keep it like a temple, and you clean it in consistent ways. Not what you do once in a while with your body, but something that you do every day with your body that makes all the difference, because it is your temple. So now if you want to now put posters on the walls of this temple that are reminders for you to probably treat your body with respect, do that. Like for me, my tattoos would be that. Like I have 14 tattoos. A lot of people are against tattoos. A lot of people say that, getting your tattooed is you creating an attachment to your body, especially in the spiritual communities. So, but for me, these tattoos are a reminder. Literally, I feel like Ghajani. कि वो घजनी में अपने वो नंबर टैटू
डालता है.
ये tattoos, meaningful tattoos बनाने, which are a reminder for me, like say for example, exactly where you're meant to be. So that if you want to do that to your body, sure, go ahead and do that. If you do not need any reminders and it's all in your mind, then okay, go ahead and do that. For me, I was never that attached to my physical body because I was really body shamed in my childhood. I was compared. I was never respecting my body because of that. Only much later, when psychology came into my life and people came into my life, when incidents happened related to mental and emotional well-being, is when I realized how much I need this body to carry out the purpose that I need to carry out. Aarti would not be possible if I don't respect my body and focus on the health aspect of it. So then, to answer your question, if doing that one thing once in a blue moon of altering your face structure or whatever helps you feel better and then consistently still take action to keep your body healthy, then okay, do that. Honestly, I am not pro of it because I know after getting the surgeries that I did get because of my health issues, I feel like एक बारी वो जो फोन खुल जाता है ना, वो फोन खुल जाता है, फिर वो खराब होता रहता है. वो लिटरली वैसी वाली बात लगती है मुझे. एक नोकिया का फोन है बस, वो जो बहुत सस्टेनेबल है, ड्यूरेबल है, लेकिन अगर वो भी एक बार गिर के उसका सारा पार्ट्स अलग हो जाता है तो बार बार नोकिया का फोन तुम उसको गिरता रहता है, हर बारी वो टूटता रहता है, फिर ठीक होता रहता है. लिटरली नोकिया का फोन है तुम्हारी बॉडी. अगर
बहुत अच्छी तरह से पता है. But yeah, like this is what I had the thought, right? Like I was like, okay, when a lot of people talk about positivity or body positivity, most of the times what happens is it turns into it's a very thin line between positivity and pseudo positivity. बहुत thin line होता है उसके दोनों के बीच में, right? When it comes to a lot of times, like even with my body, right? I cannot force myself. It's like you said, tattoos के जैसे है. I cannot force myself, I realized, to just believe that, yeah, I love the under eyes. I do struggle with it, and that's the truth of it. But the more I accept it, the more I'm like, theek hai, I have a way of changing it, and if it really wants to be changed, if I really want to change it, I can change it. And I'm not, so I think that is where I am at. But if we go into that pseudo positivity time, what happens is at the end of the day, very deep inside, you're going to be aware that you're just telling yourself the lies. So that sort of, that's the, I think, so self-worth also, again, physically also, I think makes a huge difference.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And to be honest, in my perspective, there are so many other ways of changing your cellular structure than just by getting Botox or getting like
Yeah.
any other external surgery or cellular structure. आप क्या हो? पानी हो, सिर्फ पानी हो, सिर्फ साउंड हो, आप लाइट हो, आपकी फिजिकल बॉडी इज ओनली लाइक अ hologram. If you want to change the hologram, the appearance of the hologram, start visualizing it in your mind's eye. Your body looking a certain way.
So I've literally tried. There was this time where I was meditating, and it was just a very random thought in my head where I was like, see, if I've done this a lot of times, I've done meditation enough to realize how to deal with the pains in my body, to deal with a lot of things in my body, which is why I know for a fact that I can play around with it. And I have, and it's helped me a lot. So if it comes to my eyes, I know I've gotten better with the confidence of my body. With my body, I think I've gotten way more confident than I used to be. But over the past few weeks, I did feel very disconnected, but I know there is the reason for it as well. So I'm trying to be like, okay, this is why it is, and I'm trying to connect it all. But yeah, visualizing it really does, I feel like, make a huge, huge difference.
Yeah, and it does not stop at visualization though. Like for me, if I visualize myself having a dimple, I love dimples, okay?
Same! I get so attracted to them also.
I so want a dimple on my cheek.
Same.
I started like visualizing it. Sometimes I just smile and I see, okay, I do have like a little dent over there.
Small
Like
one.
oh my god, I find it so cute. But then I also tell myself that, okay, if I say want to manifest a dimple on my cheek, is it structurally possible for me to have it? I don't know. But what's the harm in visualizing, right? So I would visualize it. But after visualizing it, I also realize what matters is the actions that you take also with your physical body, hands, legs, mouth. Is there any exercise that can help me sort of reduce my face, fat, that would then make the dimple appear? Or if I do some sound healing practice, say my entire body, 70% of it is, say, water. I work with sound healing. I listen to sounds with an intention that this sound is changing my molecular structure in such a way that whatever I visualize appears in my physical body. It's almost like this is like a hologram. Then it can happen, right? I can change the film and make some adjustments and tweaks to it, like Photoshop it, and then it actually manifests.
Yes.
Then what actions do I need to take? Do I need to start drinking more water to make it happen? Because percent water, and when I recycle the water, new water goes in. That water molecule has like some sound healing mantras or whatever that's done in it, and I drink it up. So it's all ritualistic. It's very witchy. It sounds very witchy, what I'm trying to say.
I love it.
But these are spells. People use spells to make it rain, to make their body look a certain way, and then take actions on a consistent basis for it to happen. It's just that. Athletes do visualize.
It's like how a lot of people say, I want abs. Okay, go to the gym, work out. That's the only thing you can do. But it's not just workout. Your food, the way you, what workouts you do, what foods you eat. Everything matters. The sleep, everything matters.
What do you want? So it's change and it's work at not only physical level, emotional level, mental level, spiritual level, all the 4 pillars that will make your entire being in the physical body and outside of it. I honestly feel like if you don't work on all the 4 pillars, external,
you can't just build one.
Your sense of self-worth will not be sustainable.
It's like, that's why I said it's your foundation, because if you don't work on every aspect of it, just imagine a house with just one pillar. It's going to break at one point of time. It's going to.
Yeah.
One hit and it's going to fall.
Yeah. And another thing is, I think the aspect of gut health plays a huge role, because the gut, if you keep it light, if you keep it clean, it will help your emotions to flow better. all that's blocked in your emotional regulation of nervous system or whatever to be cleaned out. Your mind will be cleaner and sharper and more productive, and your spirit, you will be able to get in touch with that higher self of you so much more better if your gut is lighter. Your gut, from it originates everything. The umbilical cord is there. So your gut is so important. And I think for my entire life, up until I think 2 years back, I have abused my gut left, right, and center because I did not respect my body, because other people shamed my body, because maybe somewhere subconsciously I had the wiring of not liking or loving my body for whatever trauma I may have experienced. And then I saw it being reflected back to me through the book, through the calling out of names in school, and then me hating it even furthermore, then starting to hurt it furthermore with alcohol, cigarettes, whatever. But yeah, so that entire experience of the journey is what made me who I am today also, who is trying to rewire it, understand it, how to reverse it. So again, now what aspect of my self-worth do I want to focus upon? Do I want to focus upon the past, or do I want to focus upon the present, where I do realize this, now I take actions accordingly? Or do I want to continue to let the past leak into my present and take actions from that space still? What makes me feel more valuable from within and outside in return? I will stick with that. What do you think when it comes to gut health? Like how would it add to your well-being? And I think after that, I think we can wind it up, because to be honest, you've discussed like self-worth like through the roof top to the
Yeah,
rooftop.
I know, right? Gut health, I can definitely speak for it because I've struggled with it for the longest time. And again, like you said, I've abused it. I've abused it left and right. Now, I think recently, me and my sister, both of us took the decision that we, at least over the week, we have this. So both of us are way too busy with our sessions to actually cook at home. So we've just gotten these home meal services that is going on, where they have this correct amount of vegetables, protein, and everything, and they just give it to us and we just have it. But when I tell you, I feel so much more energy throughout the day. I feel so much more at peace with myself. My mood swings have reached a different level of understanding. I'm more kinder to myself. Even when I meditate, it's easier for me to go into the meditative state. A lot of the times, I'm barely into that. Of course, my ADHD is something that comes and plays in between a lot of the times, and I struggle with it. But I feel like, obviously, with the right assistance that I get and everything, it's so much more easier for me to deal with a lot of things. I'm not saying I don't go out. I'm not saying I don't eat the desserts that I want. I'm not saying that I don't eat the meals that I want, but I'm very careful and calculated about it. Like, I'm like, okay, this week, if I really feel like having it, I will go out and I will have it. If I feel like there is this deep feeling inside me where I'm just like, I really just want to go have that milk cake from like that dessert place, I'll go have it. But that does not mean that every day when I have that feeling, I will go and have it.
Yeah.
It's very controlled and very balanced, where I'm like, no, this has happened. Let's not. And me and my sister have this thing where the both of us will be like, we really want to go, but then the both of us just look at each other and we're like, okay, no, that's not a good idea.
I think all of us, there were so many subjects we could have been taught in to get the education that we needed so that we can be the kind of human beings that we are evolving to be today. Which is, say, for example, things like breath work, things like meditation, things like taking care of your gut health, making better choices. So you made a better choice with the home cooked meal service that you chose, but there are still some people who would order food from outside on a daily basis.
Yeah, that was me, and I'm not even going to lie about it. That was me.
Yes, I'm so like I so appreciate you being honest about it. Like I honestly and genuinely so I'm so proud of you that and both of us to that matter of fact, because right before this call started my mom texted me and she's like, beta, I can't cook food today and Didi also has not come. So, like, can you just order food for yourself and for me also? And I was like, no, I want to eat home food. And I was like, oh my God, who have I become?
I said, what?
Rachna was like, I'm the same now. And I'm so surprised, but I can't do without home food.
Yeah.
And if I cook myself, trust me, that's 10,000 times better. Like,
I love cooking. You have no idea. When we moved, I used to cook and I used to enjoy doing it. But because I got into the entire artistry and I used to I have to go like at 5 in the morning and come back like at 12 in the night. I used not have time to cook.
yeah.
And I truly hate it because I love cooking. Because there is a different feel when you get to just cook and you pour into like energy. And I genuinely love cooking. For people
Yeah.
that like cooking, but I haven't cooked for so long, and I always feel like I just want to, get into the kitchen and cook, but I barely have the time to do it. So the next best thing is obviously to get those home cooked meals
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
But there is a part of me that, wishes that once I know that I've gotten things a little more stabilized, I would like to start cooking for myself.
Yeah. I get it.
Right?
I was just thinking today that every time I step into the kitchen, some explosion happens, because last time when I went into the kitchen, I cut my finger. Today I went into the kitchen, I spilled coffee all over my white sweater.
I'm very surprised. Aren't you like a magician in the kitchen? You create some of the most beautiful things that I've seen. You've sent me pictures.
I don't know, for last couple of months when I have genuinely wanted to get back into the kitchen and start again for myself, which I did stop in between, I've just been injuring myself. I feel like, what is wrong with me? What is going on in my subconscious mind that is making this happen? But yeah, I do realize with all the incidents that my body is sort of getting into, the injuries, 2 injuries in the last 2 days, I think my body is just saying subconsciously, there's a system in my, it's like, rest. Babe, rest. You need rest. All of that, what you want to do can happen like a month later. Right now, you just rest.
Please just sit down for some time.
Yeah, and I just want to for closing this entire episode up, I just want to ask you one thing, which is that what is that one perspective that after our conversation that you're gonna take back into your life, reflect upon, even if not inculcated into your life?
The actor thing. I think that just the conversation when I had with you, I was just in a minute. I've always thought about the entire concept of suffering and being like a victim and things like that. But the actor perspective, I absolutely love that perspective where I'm where it's kind of this thing where now I feel like every day morning I'm just going to wake up and be like, okay, if I am acting this out, what do I want to act like? Do I want to act like the victim or do I want to act like the winner that I am? How do I do it?
Yeah. Interesting.
Deal with that. But I really like that perspective. I'm probably going to sit with that a lot.
I think I'm going to take back the perspective of how what I said myself, which is something new that I just said. It came out of my mouth.
The first one?
No, the subconscious mind one. That, my subconscious mind or my soul is not only my experience, but it also is a lot of other people's experiences that it's with. And a lot of times when I think that person is bullying me, maybe in my cellular structure, there is a sense of belief that I deserve being bullied because I don't like my body. And that is why maybe another person who's like a mirror reflection would actually bully me in real life only for me to see it, that I have this belief that I need to change. And when that changes, either that person will walk away from my life, or I will walk away from that situation, or that person entirely will change because they go through something in their life. And that's just the web of consciousness. So first of all, I just need to stop telling other people that, dude, stop being angry or stop talking in an irritated manner. Like, a lot of times I would tell my mom that, please mummy, आराम से बात करो यार. क्यों इसे इतने चिक कर रही हो? Literally, for me, it's like there's some chick going on inside of me.
Inside of me, yeah. I've realized.
Inside.
I've said this to my clients before, and I always say this to my clients, where I'm like, you will be disrespected if you disrespect yourself. And this is something I constantly tell my clients. And it's something I strongly realized, where when I have issues with anybody around me, where the way they treat me, or if I start feeling alone, or if I feel like it's just not fair that they keep trying to control me and things like that, then I'm like, okay, so what is it that is in me that is inviting that control? What is it that I am doing that is letting them control me? It is one certain action of myself where I am being overly submissive, or where I'm being overly accommodating, that is letting them control me. So at the end of the day, until I stop being accommodating, that is not going to stop.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Great stuff to sort of take back and reflect upon. And I just want to tell everybody who's listening, maybe you can take a piece of paper, write down what perspective are you taking back from this podcast, from this entire episode. And also remember that even after watching this episode and listening to us bickering about our own sense of self-worth and self-worth and being or whatever, do not be harsh on yourself. I think we all deserve some loving kindness from our own selves, some compassion from our own selves. So even when you go back home and sit with yourself like we will, remember to be kind with yourself. Do not be harsh. Do not intellectualize too much. Stay in your heart space. Breathe in some air. Breathe out some air. And give yourself some love in for all the self-worth issues if you have any. And if you don't, I'm so happy for you. Please pass on some of your positive energy to us.
Chahiye thoda, please.
Okay, bye guys.